Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am Captain Foley.
I am Connor Guns.
And you are our massive, amazing fleet of viewers. Today we're here to talk about the fleet that is Starfleet. At the end of the latest Prodigy episode 18, Mind Walk. This was glorious to see. This was amazing. Wish we got a little bit better views, but we'll get those in the next episode. That's fine. But this was surprising to see, and it reminded me very much of like Picard Season 2, Episode 1.
We'll get into that. There's a picture about that. But Stuart, do you not think the Great Koala has blessed us today?
No, because I don't believe in the Great Koala. So we are blessed regardless.
He's in every episode of Low Deck, Stuart. Now, caveat, if this hadn't have been massively leaked, spoiled in an official trailer on the Nickelodeon TV show network, this would have been even better. So that was a bad choice for them to entirely spoil this. So while cool, I was waiting for it. But it was cool the first time I saw it as well in the trailer. But yes, a fleet. Of course, audience will say, be consistent, guys. This is a copy and paste fleet, because in this first shot, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I move forward. Let's going to say 12 sovereigns. It's a lot of sovereigns. Many centaurs, and later on we'll see Defiance and Akiras. But Stuart, they just copied and pasted, right? And are we pissed off about this?
No, because this is proper ships, and it's a variety of ships. It's not the same ship repeatedly. This is, like I said, more like the Picard Season 2 first episode, where there's a variety of ships, and that's fantastic. And these are proper ships for the time. That's great. I just don't know why there's so many ships in this sector, because always the Enterprise is the only ship in the sector. So,
I mean, in fairness, sovereigns are real fast, so the best ships are going to be able to get there first. So, because that's my only critique.
That's a good point. Yeah.
My only critique is that this many sovereigns is a war fleet of unimaginable destructive power. Like, Nemesis ain't that long ago, and to know that we didn't see any in the Dominion War, and so afterwards they decided to build like 14, and they're all close enough to one random place, implying there's probably 30, 40, 50, 80, 100.
You could speculate they're near enough to the Romulan neutral zone, even though they've been at warp for a while.
I probably would have cut the number of sovereigns in half, or down to a third, because having 14 sovereigns is like that. You are heavy hitting the F. They don't even know there's a bomb on board. They just know a stolen ship with a proto-drive, which means none of these ships can chase them. Oh, speaking of Stuart, did you notice that proto-drive has been active despite them saying the proto-drive's offline, and it was not online when they dropped out of warp? So I'm assuming this is a lead into the next episode where they're going to try to get a proto-warp, or the animator just had the wrong assembly. But it's like, why is this on?
Now I can see it. Yeah, you can see it sticking up the back there.
Although the nacelles aren't down, so the drive is... What happened, guys? But no, really good to see. Like I said, from the other trailer, there's a lot of good space shots coming that are real pretty, real close. So you think they get the copy and paste tick. Doesn't feel like it for you then?
No,
officially.
It doesn't. Not at all.
Nope. If we go to the next picture then, this is when we get a more diverse fleet. And we see a lot of them warp in as we go. To wit, they're using the Picard and the Discovery warp in, and even though the Dauntless and the Protostar both warp in with the Star, they aren't. So I wish they would be consistent, because these you can't exactly say a Centaur with old nacelles is warping in using, if you say that's the new way warp drive warps in, why the hell are Centaurs doing it? Have they been refitted with modern warp everything to jump them with Discovery style? So I wish they'd warped in with appropriate levels. But here we see the fleet: Centaurs, Akiras, Defiance, several Defiance.
I really like that your thing at you first said that the Sovereigns are the fastest of the fleet.
And Defiant.
And they are. And that's why they're there first, and then these other ones start showing up. That's great. I wish we would have seen like a Steam Runner or a Norway class as well, but maybe next week.
This is when it's best to have less ships to have more effect. By having 13 Sovereigns, 19 Akiras, it becomes a sort of visual mess of now you are copy and pasting. Now, luckily, there's a lot of different angles, but also you can see a few of the ships are just the same angle, they've just moved it. Like the 3 Sovereigns on the left, it's clearly the same 2D render of a Sovereign, they've just moved. And strangely, those 2 lower Centaurs on the left, there's 3 in a row. I think pretty much 2 of them are the same shot, just moved. I don't think they necessarily rendered all these shots originally. A lot of this shot feels copy and paste.
I think it's the Prodigy guy's way of saying, hey, copy and paste, but this is better. Yeah.
And there's also some odd angles, like a lot of the Centaurs, because most ships would be in the same plane facing, but some ships are like this, because otherwise they're flat. Like a Centaur is very flat. If you do this, it's depthy, so that it's a slight conceit of why is a Sovereign looking that way. But I love to see Defiance. Defiance make me happy, because Defiance is so infrequently used, as are Centaurs, in fairness. As are Sovereigns. Because the old rule of never use a hero ship because it'll be, wow, Stuart, where's the Enterprise E here?
Oh, somebody's going to say that's the Defiant. The Worf's on that Defiant. I hope we see Captain Worf.
Yeah. Old style confusion, and that's why they didn't use the old hero ships. But if you think about it, they never made a Centaur 3D model. They couldn't use the Defiant ever really again because it was the Defiant. They used it 3 times in other shows. And the E was never used in CG. The Akira, okay, used it a bit, but maybe they picked these ships because they were never seen in CG to be a bit different. If you saw Mirandas and Excelsiors, you'd say, okay, we've seen them before. What if that was part of the thought?
Possibly. I mean, you say that the Enterprise E was never seen in 3D, or CGI, but it was in every movie.
Well, only in Nemesis for the most part. Wow. But I mean, as apart from
yes, the movies.
Apart from as the E, it was never seen again as any other thing else.
Yeah.
Because they didn't make a 3D model for the TV teams.
Mm.
And we're leaving this episode, Stuart, where they can't even control the damn ship and no way to reverse control. There's not even a solution to the issue they've got here. It is just 6 kids facing a Starfleet Armada that would make anybody blush with a Dauntless at their back, and they have no control. I mean, how are they getting out of this? Because this is a top tier oh no.
And Janeway's in the brig, and she can't communicate with the fleet or Admiral Jellicoe to say, don't contact that ship. Yeah.
It's a real bad plan of what's happening. It's
See, that's why I think the proto drive coming out is part of the next episode. Like it's just coming out. The nacelles haven't lowered yet, but they use that scene in this one.
Yeah,
because I think that's going to be the next thing is to jump and have these guys chase you. Because otherwise, you're kind of screwed.
Or you just hail one,
and then affect it, and they all start blowing each other up. Which is a sad sight to see.
Which might be the reason why there's like 50, because it's easier to kill 50 if you introduce 50. If you introduce 6, they all die. It's not quite as impressive.
Well, where's all the Mirandas then? If I saw Mirandas, I would suspect that, because they're the red shirts of the fleet. So,
but can you imagine if we see some Defiance shooting just blowing up some Centaurs?
Yeah, I think the Centaurs are the new red shirts of the fleet now.
Yep. Oh, imagine if we see 2 Sovereigns fighting like battleships, just like flying and double quantum action. Yeah, everyone's firing quantum, Stuart, except the Centaurs and Akiras. They're lonely, but they'll be hit by quantum, so it's fine. Oh, God, it's gonna be a quantum heavy battle, Stuart. Jesus.
Battle of quantum proportions.
Dear me. But the last picture, though, Stuart, is of course I wanted to compare because we are trying as fair as possible on this channel, and the first time we saw something of this ilk in recent memory was, of course, the Picard copy and paste fleet, as people say. And this is one of those shots where we see a giant fleet of ships appear. Of course, they only had 1 week to produce this scene because Picard was so badly planned they entirely changed ending a week before, which is pretty terrible. So this is very good for a week, fair enough. But to see these 2 versions of giant fleet ships, one live action, one not, what do you think seem together?
Well, one's more cluttered, for sure, and all the angles are pretty much the same. The ships are the same. But they aren't the same. Look at the nacelles. Yeah, there's like 2 variants of nacelles. There are 3.
Yeah.
But that's it. The rest of the ship is the same, plus the low detail. This is just better. This feels like Star Trek. If this had been the fleet at the end of Picard, I would have been totally happy, because it would have made more sense to have a variety of ships instead of just the Zheng He.
But Stuart, it's the most powerful warship in the entire fleet. You only need 1 if it's most powerful. But of course it has no phasers or torpedo launchers of any kind, so... Oh no, now we can fire through RCS thrusters, I guess.
And like I said at the beginning of this episode, this fleet felt more like the one from Season 2 of Picard with all the Star Trek Online ships. More variety, but they're kind of stacked and staggered the same, as opposed to that Picard Season 1 fleet. So... You don't have a picture of that, though.
No. Let me present you, though, with a slight mental gymnastics for a second. When I look at these 2 ships, and yes, I know the bottom's a bit more blurry, the realness of the CG If I was to ignore the people's heads, the top one looks live action to me. They look perfectly lit for real DS9 spaceships. Like the best I've seen in Prodigy. Like Dauntless never looked this good. Like those could be absolutely from the show, wouldn't even question it. The bottom one looked like absolutely CG. Doesn't look... Yeah. Despite the top one being the video game essence of being an animation. What do you think I've put that in your head? Because it feels like a stark difference to me.
I was thinking that too while we were talking about it, so I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah. Feels like a 90s Activision game at the bottom. One of the cutscenes.
And I'm sure this episode had a bigger budget than the entire half season of Prodigy. No, I'm joking, but I mean, it had a much, much higher budget. Just the lighting is so much more on point. All the glows are right. I know exactly that's the right red from the Defiant. Like, I can feel it. That's the correct lighting colours, you know? And the Zheng Hazer, whatever, you know what I mean? So good job for them, because they've never made ships look that nice before. So I'm excited to see the battle in full.
I was just super stoked to see a fleet of actual ships. Like, that's the thing too, like I said about Picard Season 1, is that first episode really raised our hopes because we saw a variety of different kinds of ships. They all looked fine. There's some Star Trek Online ships included. There's Mirandas. There was a whole bunch of stuff. And it's like, that's how the fleet should be. And this, for this era, is totally appropriate. A camera going around the back of a Sovereign with the protostar in the distance. I mean, that'd be kind of neat. I don't know if we're going to get that, but I'm excited to see possibilities.
So, if you want to see us talk about that next week, then support us on Patreon, which is monthly, or join the channel, also monthly on YouTube, or join the channel, that's I just said that, or PayPal at trekyards@hotmail.com. Any donation helps to keep the show going. Years, days, weeks, months, decades ahead, goddamn, yes. If you want our kids to work on Trekyards, you've got to support monthly via Patreon, Trekyards, or Super Chat. Those are really cool too.
And since this is an edited video, please super thanks instead, or if you want to super chat, join one of our lives, as he said. But please like the video, comment down below, and make sure you're subscribed, all that stuff. You guys know the routine by now, unless you're new here.
Oh,
and if you're new here,
yes.
Make sure you're subscribed,
hello,
notify, exactly, and maybe join the channel. So lots of ways to help us out. So until next time, this is Captain Foley,
Commander Cookings. I think that again.
And our fleet. You guys,
yes.
You guys are awesome.
Yes.
And you're not cut and paste.
Mm-mm. Mm.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.